Hey, it's Caroline from Sante Fitness. Today we're going to do another of the tutorials, and these are great because when we do our moves, we have to make sure that we're doing them correctly in order to get the full benefit and in order to, of course, avoid injury. So today's tutorial is going to be our half plank. So normally we often hear about full planks, and full planks are great. They are long leg. You've seen them before. They're the top portion of a push-up. You've seen them at clubs and gyms and things like that. It would look a lot like this, but they are not necessarily the best for most of us, honestly. So instead, I prefer to teach the half plank. Half plank is a little bit less intense officially, but if you're doing it right, it is still a very challenging pose to do. And keep in mind that we're usually using it as the top of a move, and then we're going in and flowing through into something else. So we want to make sure that each pause, because poses are basically just pauses in movement. So we want to make sure that each of those pauses is a safe place to sit, and then we continue to flow and transition into the next pause and into the next pause, and that's actually a fluid flow. So we could call it a pose or a pause, either way it works. Anyway, we're looking at our half plank. So we want to make sure, of course, that we have our hands in a good, safe position, and that does not necessarily mean oriented towards the shoulders. It really means pressing into the floor, because they are rooting into the floor for us, because our feet, as you can see, are floating. So our hands are rooting into the floor. They can be beyond the shoulders, that's fine. You bend the elbows. Make sure that your shoulders, though, are down and back, which simply means that the shoulder blades are flat on your back, so they're holding on to the upper back. They're not moving forward, they're not bending out, they are flat on your upper back. Then you want to walk those knees out and allow your stomach, or rather your spine, to kind of start to straighten out, okay? Don't worry about how it looks. You might feel like you've got a whole lot hanging off right here. That is entirely okay. What we really want to focus on is ensuring that our hips are not up too high, that we're not kind of in a half plank and a half hands and knees pose, but that we're actually making use of the strength building aspect here. So when we're working towards a straight line from knee to head, so nice long neutral spine, but you may have to go through a little bit of a higher hips, and that's okay. I would rather you go higher hips than dipping in and hurting your lower back. So if you feel like your lower back, and that would be this space right here, if you feel like that's compressing, then that's too much work, okay? And that is not good work, that is bad work, because that's a negative pressure on that lumbar spine. So let's check those elbows, roll them down and back, make sure we're in a nice safe position, and then we come into our half plank. So this is a good space for me because I'm engaging my stomach to pull into the spine. So the belly button area, those muscles are pulling up into the spine, and I can really feel the rib cage pulling in. So I've got really stable positioning here. I can move around, I can do other things, and I'm not going to collapse my stomach in. Notice when I start to move, I bend those elbows. So the torso is staying in one long position as the elbows bend. Then when I come back into a different position, like a child's pose, I'm going to press the hands back. I'm going to lift my stomach in even more so that the hips can lift, and I can just roll back. So notice then my back does not extend until I'm in that full child's position. And we will talk about child's pose in a different tutorial, get down and deep into that one. But I just want you to understand that, from your half plank, a great place to go is your child's pose, or it would be coming down onto your stomach. That again is another pose. That's actually a transition position. So I'll have to explain that in a different video. It's too much detail for this one. So play with that plank position and the half plank position. See which works better for you. The full plank is just going to be more work for your entire front line, which means all the muscles along the front side of the body. And it's good, but the question is whether it's necessarily as good as, whether it's worth all the extra work, because most of the time it puts a lot more strain on our shoulders than we really need, especially if we're going to go down into the floor to continue through a sequence or coming back into child's pose. So keep that in mind. Practice and play with that half plank. Get really comfortable in it to where you're using all your muscles. The joints are just there to kind of move. Excuse me. The joints are there just to move, but it's the muscles that are getting the work, the muscles that are doing the activity. And I promise you, you will feel an amazing amount of strength even from that half plank. And that's all for today. I'll see you next time. Bye.